For over 5,000 years, the megalithic temples and astonishing subterranean constructions of Malta have stood as evidence of a vast, long-lost civilization. Furthermore, contrary to what most archaeologists believe, there are scholars who think this island culture existed thousands of years before the rest of humanity. Georgios Tsoukalos, Eric von Däniken, and local historian Franz von Avendonk have gone to the Temple of Menidra, another one of the most mystifying ancient structures in Malta, to look into this fascinating notion further. So, what exactly is this corridor showing us? One of the world's oldest solar calendars, if you will. At the winter solstice, we see that the stone on the right side is illuminated. On the other hand, this stone represents the summer solstice. So light will reach this stone as soon as the sun rises through the aperture. The alignments may seem different when seen from a modern perspective compared to when they were in the distant past. As for the earliest civilization, archaeology estimates it to be about 4,000 or 5,000 years old. Archaeological evidence places this at around 3,300 years before the current era. Nevertheless, we do offer an alternative choice, which is one of your local options. Equally forthcoming was Dr. McAuliffe. Yes, that's correct. According to McAuliffe's calculations, a date of 10,200 BC would be required for one of these stones to align properly. According to Paul McAuliffe, a Maltese land surveyor and geographer, the Temple of Menidra seems to have been constructed far earlier than what conventional archaeologists assert based on astronomical alignments. The fact that the Earth's tilt has altered is well established, but thanks to today's computers, we can virtually turn back the hands of time and see the night sky the way it was in the past. He calculated that this occurred about 10,200 BC, at the precise moment when the winter and summer solstices' rays met on opposite sides of that slab. Obviously, therefore, we have yet another link to the stars, a heavenly bridge, if you will. This section of the temple is supposedly the oldest according to Franz. Yes, it is. So, these folks have been stargazing for at least 5,000 years. Something had piqued their interest. Something was what they hoped for. Perhaps they were patiently awaiting the gods' return. Which gods are still an open question. I see. Archaeological digs in Malta are far from over, but what is certain is that the artifacts unearthed thus far provide a unique window into the world's first human communities. Furthermore, ancient astronaut theorists believe that Malta has realization that someone had to have brought this knowledge from someplace. These beings, who were they? In the end, the solution to this question will shed light on some of the biggest riddles that humanity has ever faced. Situated in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, not far from Italy, lies the tiny island country of Malta. Experts estimate that about 5200 BC, people made the journey from neighboring Sicily to this island. According to modern archaeologists, the stone buildings on the Maltese island of Gozo are among the most impressive examples of ancient worldwide constructors. The temples of Gozo and Malta predate the pyramids of Egypt by over 1,000 years, according to Linda Nex. They are the world's first examples of monumental building. The engineering of these temples is just mind-blowing. What we have here are paved paths and barriers that enclose spaces. There was a period when they were ceilinged, certainly more intricate than anything else that has surfaced on Earth for an extremely long period. The enormous size and use of vertically placed monolithic stones, each weighing more than 20 tons, as well as the fact that it was constructed before the invention of metal tools or the wheelhead, have specialists perplexed. Patrick Flanagan. We have just recently created devices with adequate accuracy to understand that some of these ancient civilizations could shape stones to optical precision. Precision that beyond what we can do now. That being the case, they obviously had highly developed technology. The question then becomes, where did this sophisticated technology originate from if it was employed by the ancient architects of Malta? Among Malta's many mysteries, like the so-called cart ruts that can be seen everywhere, researchers think solutions may be discovered. Because of their appearance, these parallel fissures in the bedrock have been dubbed cart ruts, according to Linda Ellis. We have no idea who they were or why they existed. Nothing has been written. Malta has cart ruts that are around 4 feet wide, according to Arlen Andrews. They're evenly spaced apart. Run hundreds of yards, some of them. Many of them run long distances. Research on the ruts suggests that they may have been there as long as 10,000 years ago, as shown by the fact that many ancient temples were constructed directly on them. Some who study the past think the cart ruts could prove that Malta was an early industrial center on Earth. It would seem that the old railway that these cart ruts really represented was used to transport heavy gear, similar to what is used today in mining operations, or even to roll rockets out onto a launch pad. Underneath Malta, you can find further proof of the underground building was found to be 3 stories high and constructed entirely of stone. Linda Enix. They thought they had to haul around 2,000 tons of stone out of these underground chambers to make this room seem just like the ones above ground, which is impressive. The acoustical qualities of the so-called oracle room are part of the hypogeum's biggest mystery.
The acoustic qualities of this are quite remarkable because when someone is in the oracle room, their voice reverberates across the whole building. William Henry explains that the ancients used this advanced sound technology to induce a trance state and gain access to a higher level of human awareness. In their pursuit of a connection with star energy, they aimed to go inside.
Could the oracle room have served as a conduit for communication with gods or ancestors from beyond the grave? On the other hand, may its sophisticated acoustics indicate that the ancient Maltese had perfected the art of sonic manipulation, the control of solids by means of audible tones? I've come to the realization that they're using fractal nonlinear dynamics, which is one of the fundamental things. Vibratory force, nonlinear resonances of sound waves, microwaves, and magnetic waves are allowing us to alter matter in ways we never imagined conceivable, according to recent discoveries in the area of materials science. Could the ancient architects of Malta's huge temples have used sonic technology if, as many ancient astronaut theorists think, the oracle room was used to harness the power of audio waves? The builders had this profound understanding of acoustic technology, according to David Childress. Furthermore, levitation and anti-gravity are only 2 of the many possible uses for sound technology.
Stories about the origins of great buildings abound in folklore from all corners of the globe. In this tradition, stones are said to be moved by means of sound, namely by use of instruments or hammering or ringing, which raise the stones to an elevation where they may be pushed as if they were entirely weightless. Looks like the builders at Malta knew a lot about something we're just now finding out about, and you'd believe they received it from aliens. Situated in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, halfway between Italy and Africa, the Republic of Malta is comprised of a trio of island groups. A little island country off the coast of Sicily is called Malta, according to Lynn Picknett. Plus, it's really little, covering a total of about 122 square miles. However, Malta's strategic location in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea gives it significant historical weight.
Several of the world's most influential civilizations have used Malta as a base of operations. The enormous stone remains of Malta, however, are what really set it out as a one-of-a-kind planet. These ruins may have of years before any human civilization ever stepped foot on the island. A long-lost Greek colony from the Mycenaean era was thought to be Malta, according to Jason Osequeda. And this spans the years before 1200 BC, all the way up to, perhaps, 800 BC. But at the middle of the 20th century, scientists used radiocarbon dating to confirm that Malta is home to one of the world's oldest megalithic monuments.
It has been determined by mainstream archaeologists that the earliest megalithic buildings on the island of Malta date back at least 5,600 years. But very little is known about the identities or duration of existence of these prehistoric builders or their society. According to Picknett, one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the megalithic builders is what became of these extraordinary, very intelligent men who constructed all this incredible artifact.
Why? Because it's been around 3,000 years since anybody noticed their presence. In terms of archaeology, they appeared one second and then disappeared the next.
Some scholars believe that the ancient Maltese people inhabited the Mediterranean islands thousands of years before the Sumerians. The earliest known human civilization rose to power in Mesopotamia in 4000 BC. They cite the presence of strange engravings known as cart ruts as proof. Along with its megalithic structures, the cart ruts are another archaeological feature that has brought Malta international renown. The limestone rock really has these ruts. According to conventional wisdom, they were ground into the rock as a result of the constant rubbing of carts on the porous surface. Our cart paths go right into the Mediterranean, says Giorgio A. Tsoukalis. Eventually, they too emerge victorious. Somehow, this is achievable. Some of the cart tracks that go from land to sea, as narrated by a narrator, apparently discovered in depths of up to 140 feet. This provides an important indicator of how long ago they were probably made. It seems to me that some of these tracks left by carts are really old, and by extremely ancient, I mean before the last ice age ended some 12,000 years ago. We know that the ice age ended due to massive warming and sea level increases. What seems to be sinking into the ocean in some of these cart ruts really represents dry ground from a time when sea levels were far lower. These cart tracks that go to the Mediterranean Sea suddenly make sense when you consider that, as a matter of fact, global sea levels were lower 12,000 years ago. About 12,000 years ago, when Malta and Sicily were linked by a land bridge, the region was likewise dry. In my opinion, the presence of these cart ruts proves that a sophisticated culture was in existence throughout that period. Korendi, Malta, a medieval settlement on the main island's mountainous southern shore, is the site of the megalithic temple, Menidra, which has long baffled historians. The trefoil layout of these stone
constructions creates 3 linked circular chambers that make up the complex. In reality, the Menidra complex is home to 3 temples. It seems that the South Temple's alignment is designed to serve as a solar calendar. During the equinox, the 2 periods of the year when the length of day and the length of night are equal, the sun rises directly in the middle of the temple's hallway, lighting up the whole structure from front to back. Various stones represent the dawn of the solstice at different periods of the year.
The majority of archaeologists believe that the architects of the Gigantea Temple also erected the ancient temple at Menidra, which dates back to roughly 3600 BC. These ancient builders were giants, according to local tradition.
Its immense size is the inspiration for the concept of giants. Normal humans couldn't possibly construct such gigantic structures by stacking all these stones. Big guys were required.
Paul McAuliffe, a professor at the University of Malta, wrote a book in 1992 arguing that Manasdra dates back thousands of years beyond than previously thought and that its construction occurred about 10,200 BC. He arrived at this conclusion because, according to the Earth's tilt, at that particular moment in time, on the morning of the summer solstice, a light beam would have entered the Manasdra temple via its main entrance and fallen squarely on an altar stone. Only by designing Manasdra with the desired outcome in mind could this be accomplished.
The summer solstice sunrise gradually shifts to various sky locations over very long time periods. This swaying of the Earth over a period of over 26,000 years is known as the precession of the equinox.
Paul McAuliffe's theory would have to be 6,000 years old to be true if it were to be accepted. The question therefore becomes, how were the complex megalithic buildings erected on a deserted island thousands of years before modern humans arrived? According to ancient astronaut theory, the Maltese people received this knowledge from extraterrestrial giants.
We naturally think that aliens from another planet may be the gray aliens that we talk about today. However, we will probably have to face the reality that these animals are quite different from what we thought they were.
According to astrophysical theory, a planet's gravitational field is bigger as its size increases. In principle, it's possible that aliens hailing from planets with less gravity than Earth cause them to swell to gigantic proportions. This might explain, for instance, why certain extraterrestrials are twice as big as humans.
Might a long-vanished civilization that flourished 12,000 years ago, maybe with the help of gigantic creatures who came tumbling down from the sky, have constructed the megalithic monuments on the island of Malta?
The Misra Valley of Kabir. On the southwestern coast of Malta is a place with some of the world's most perplexing geological features, a web of grooves cut into the rock that is affectionately called cart ruts. Malta has cart ruts that are around 4 feet wide, according to Andrew. There is a consistent spacing between them, run hundreds of yards, some of them. Many of them run long distances. The appearance of these parallel fissures in the bedrock led to their identification as cart ruts. We have no idea who they were or why they existed. Nothing has been written. In all honesty, it's impossible to say. Still, a great number of them exist. They are so intricate and crisscrossed in some spots that the neighborhood is known as Clapham Junction, after a London rail station. The Maltese Cart Ruts, Unraveling an Enigma, written in 2010 by author Gordon Weston, delves into the numerous hypotheses on their formation. Weston has spent over a decade researching this peculiar oddity. Please, Gordon, give me your opinion. So, you've got 50 years? Without a doubt, yes. You really couldn't operate a cart down here, really. It would be disastrous for the cart. Since this seems to have occurred, early scholars considered vehicles capable of scraping the rock away. There were 3 gadgets. Sledges were the first ones, one of the earliest means of transportation for humans. The sledge, however, became stuck as soon as they set off. Consequently, we have examined 2 more devices. The travois was one of them. The Indians of the plains used them to move their teepees from one campsite to another. The issue is that when the poles make contact with the earth, they will be broader than these ruts. The next piece of equipment is known as a slide car. 2 runners are affixed to the load platform. That's a wild and absurd notion. It fails miserably in practical experiments and the like. Science has no utility in solving this issue. When it comes to these ruts, there is no scientifically applicable approach. It follows that a handful of ruts in Burzebuga, a city on St. George's Bay, go directly into the Mediterranean Sea. Weston, they have a lot of fame. I agree with you. As the ruts disappear into the water, it becomes an intriguing sight. They supposedly cross the water on the other side as well. Yet it has already been built over. Where does it leave us with an explanation? The technology we're examining may be foreign to us, according to Andrew. The tracks disappear into the ocean. They are kilometers distant, yet divers have discovered them underwater. The ground may have sunk, or the water level may have risen, or even both. The last ice age was characterized by a 300-foot drop in sea level. People may have lived on these